on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
You are watching The World 24/7 on the NDTV network. I'm Parmeshwar Bafa. Let's begin with the headlines we're tracking at the moment. Donald Trump was the target of what the FBI says appears to be an attempted assassination at his golf club in Florida on Sunday, just 9 weeks after the Republican presidential nominee survived another attempt on his life. The former U.S. president said he was safe and well, and authorities held a man in custody. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says Israel would inflict a heavy price on the Iran-aligned Houthis who control northern Yemen after they reached central Israel with a missile on Sunday for the first time. US President Joe Biden has brushed off Russian leader Vladimir Putin's threat regarding a war against the West if Ukraine's allies allowed it to use weapons deeper inside Russia. The US Federal Reserve is gearing up to announce its first interest rate cut for more than 4 years on Wednesday, with policymakers expected to debate how big a move to make less than 2 months before the US presidential election. One person has drowned in Poland and an Austrian fireman has died responding to floods as Storm Boris slashed Central and Eastern Europe with torrential rains. The deaths bring the overall toll from the storm to 7, with thousands evacuated across the continent. Typhoon Bibinka has made landfall in Shanghai, China's finance center. Seaports were closed and more than 600 flights have been cancelled. Described as a potentially once-in-a-century storm, Bibinka comes on the heels of the devastating Typhoon Yaki. Well, our big focus, U.S. federal authorities are investigating an incident at Donald Trump's Florida golf club that appears to be an attempted assassination, a potential second attempt on the former U.S. president's life in roughly 2 months. In fact, the U.S. president's life, the Secret Service agents have said, is currently, it's all under control. He is safe. But Secret Service agents added that someone opened fire on a gunman located near the property line of Trump International Golf Club in West Palm Beach. This is what a spokesperson for the agency has said during a news conference, adding that they were unsure whether the individual who is in custody was able to take a shot at our agents. But Trump, who was golfing at the club at the time, was unharmed. Listen to what officials are saying, followed by a ground report from Washington, D.C.
In a statement, the FBI says it has responded to West Palm Beach, Florida, and is investigating what appears to be an attempted assassination of former President Trump. At a press conference, the U.S. Secret Service said the former president is safe and unharmed. The incident occurred before 2 p.m. on Sunday when shots were fired near where Donald Trump was playing golf at the Trump International Golf Course. Palm Beach County Sheriff said a Secret Service agent who was on the course 1 hole ahead of the former president spotted a rifle barrel in the bushes. Agents opened fire and an individual took off. The sheriff said an AK-47 style rifle with a scope was found in the bushes along with 2 backpacks and a GoPro, and that these are currently being processed. A potential suspect was chased down and is now in custody. In a statement, Donald Trump said there were gunshots in my vicinity, but before rumours start spiralling out of control, I wanted you to hear this first. I am safe and well. The White House said the president and vice president have been briefed about the security incident and they're relieved to know that Donald Trump is safe. They will be kept regularly updated by their team. Vice President Kamala Harris also wrote on X, "Violence has no place in America." This is the second investigation into an attempted assassination of Mr. Trump. In July, a gunman shot at him during a rally in Pennsylvania, injuring his ear. Jagruti Dave, NDTV, Washington.
Well, you got to understand the golf course is surrounded by shrubbery. So when somebody gets into the shrubbery, they're pretty much out of sight. All right. And at this level that he is at right now, he's not the sitting president. If he was, we would have had this entire golf course around it. But because he's not, the security is limited to the areas that the Secret Service deems possible.
Well, in other crucial news, Israel has been left on high alert after a ballistic missile fired from more than 1,000 miles away in Yemen reached the center of the country for the first time. People were seen rushing to shelters as air raid sirens were sounded in the central regions of the country at around 6:30 a.m. local time on Sunday, including at Israel's main airport. But Israeli officials said parts of the missile fell in an unpopulated open area about 7 kilometers from their airport, and that no injuries had been reported so far.
A long-range ballistic missile, fired from at least 2,000 kilometers away, in Yemen has hit central Israel. Houthis have taken the responsibility for the attack. After the incident, firefighters were putting out a brush fire near the city of Lod and saw broken glass at a train station in Modin. Both areas are southeast of Tel Aviv, Israel's commercial hub. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned Yemen's Houthi face a heavy price.
אנחנו במערכה רב-זירתית מול ציר הרשע של איראן שחותר להשמדתנו.
Yemen's Houthis have been launching attacks against Israel and its perceived interest in what they say is solidarity with Palestinians during the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza Strip. After the Houthis' deadly attack on Tel Aviv in July, Israeli warplanes bombed Houthi-controlled Hodeidah in response, destroying much of the facility's fuel storage capacity and killing several people. As the conflict in the Middle East expands, eyes are on how the international community will respond and whether the region is headed towards a broader, more destructive war. With Mohammad Ghazali, Bureau Report, NDTV.
My colleague Mohammad Ghazali has been tracking the finer details for us. He joins us live at the moment. Ghazali, many analysts point out that the fact that the missile made landfall at all has raised regional concern that the Houthis are advancing their military strength with Tehran's support.
Yeah, certainly. You see what happened in July when one person was killed, a drone managed to penetrate into Israel's air defense system. And even yesterday, when this ballistic missile was launched from Yemen, initially there has been no such comment whether the Iron Dome arrow system of Israel's defense system managed to sort of strike it down or not. But some sources in the Israeli army were quoted saying that perhaps it managed to strike it down, and that is why some part of this ballistic missile fell in an open area. One of the parts hit a bridge area and also a railway station, a metro railway station called in the area called Modi'in. Now, what is more concerning is that despite Israel's retaliation against the Houthis in July itself by bombing their port and also killing several members of the Houthi group, it has not backed down. And that is a major concern, not just for Israel, but also countries like Saudi and UAE, because Saudi had launched a campaign against Houthis. Aerial attacks happened like 5-6 years ago. And now, why this is concerning? Because Saudis and Iran have had the rapprochement via China a couple of years ago. And despite that, Iran continues to support Saudi Houthis in Yemen. And that is a big concern for the Middle Eastern countries, that whether by arming Houthis who managed to attack Israel, being 2,000 kilometers away from Israel, whether this entire conflict is now expanding. Because for the last 2 months, there were hectic negotiations between the Middle Eastern players like Qatar, Egypt, Turkey, who usually play as mediator between Israel and Hamas. But there has been no breakthrough as far as ceasefire is concerned. And Houthis who keep attacking Israel, who are attacking the Red Sea route, who have impacted the entire maritime security in that region, now continue to attack Israel. And Israel doesn't have any other option rather than retaliating or accepting a ceasefire proposal being floated by US and other Middle Eastern players. So whether the air defense system managed to sort of strike down this ballistic missile completely, that fact is not shared yet by the Israeli army. And whether the Houthis will continue to attack into Israel the way they did yesterday. So that is also a bigger concern for Israel, because Israel, as analysts say, that they can't afford to have a multi-front war, be it on the Lebanon side on their border or with the Houthis, or with Hamas, which is ongoing for the last 1 year almost.
Also, Ghazali, the Houthis announced that they used a new hypersonic ballistic missile that traveled over 2,000 kilometers in just 11.5 minutes. What do we know about this new technology?
See, as we know that Houthis are only getting support from Iran, but Iran and Yemen don't share borders. So perhaps what we are being told that perhaps via Iraq and all, Iran continues to supply these missiles, these weapons to Houthis. Iran faces sanctions. There is a global outrage from the West as we see a growing bonhomie between Russia and Iran, that Iran has been sending missiles and Iran has been sending drones to Russia. And the same has been supplied to Houthis as well, because Houthis don't have a facility where they can develop these kind of missiles or these kind of projectiles. Though they claim yesterday, while claiming responsibility with this attack, they even said that there are more surprises for Israel and will continue to launch similar ballistic missiles towards Israel. But the larger point is that how a small nation, which is blocked by its hostile neighbors like UAE, like Saudi, who are not providing them any aid in terms of arms and ammunition, how do they manage to receive such large and technologically superior kind of weapons, and from where? It is certainly Iran, because Iran continues to support them. Iran exports arms towards Syria, towards Lebanon, to all its proxy militias, and this is one of its team in the Middle East, in the Yemen area, where these are controlling since 2014. So despite all the military action, what Israel did last month, a couple of months ago in July, or what Saudis and their joint forces with the Western powers have been trying to control Houthis, has certainly failed. And Houthis have time and again shown that they will continue with this attack until Israel accepts the peace plan, until accepts the ceasefire plan, which is being shared by the US. Until then, perhaps the situation will remain critical. And all these sanctions on Russia or even Iran has certainly not worked when it comes, or it has not proven detrimental when it comes to stopping these proxy militias from using weapons or launching attacks on Israel.
Absolutely. As always, Ghazali, thank you so much for joining us with the latest details and also contextualizing the story for us. It's important to note that this attack might escalate the situation further, as Ghazali is reporting. In fact, the Israeli Prime Minister, Mr. Netanyahu, his promise to make the Houthis pay a heavy price suggests that Israel could take substantial retaliatory actions which might increase regional tensions. We'll, of course, keep a close eye on the developments in the coming days. With that, let's get you an update from Europe at the moment. Since Thursday last week, swaths of Austria, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Romania and Slovakia have been hit by high winds and unusually heavy rainfall. In fact, the rains have flooded streets and submerged entire neighborhoods in some places, while shutting down public transport and electricity in others. What we can tell you at the moment is one person has drowned in Poland, an Austrian fireman has died responding to floods, as Storm Boris lashed Central and Eastern Europe with torrential rains, as you can see on your screens. The deaths bring the overall toll from the storm to 7, with thousands evacuated across the continent. Meanwhile, Typhoon Bebinka in Shanghai has been in the headlines. In fact, the typhoon has made landfall in China's finance center. Seaports were closed and more than 600 flights have been cancelled. But this has been described as a potentially once-in-a-century storm. But Bebinka comes on the heels of the devastating typhoon Yagi, which itself followed a summer marked by extreme heat and floods that threatened food security and damaged manufacturing hubs in China's southern cities. Staying with news from China, well, China's state media said the drills named Northern Interaction 2024 have been wrapped up, but they aim to deepen strategic cooperation between the two countries, which is Japan and China, Russia and China, and strengthen their ability to respond to security threats. In fact, 6 days of joint military drills between China and Russia have ended in the Sea of Japan. By the way, according to a statement by China's Ministry of Defense, the Chinese Navy will also participate in Russia Navy's larger Ocean 2024 strategic exercise. Let's switch tracks now. Well, the US Federal Reserve is poised to announce its first interest rate cut in more than 4 years on Wednesday. Senior officials at the US Central Bank, including the Fed Chair Jerome Powell, have in recent weeks indicated that a rate cut is coming this month as inflation eases towards the bank's long-term target of 2% and the labor market continues to cool. But the Fed, which has a dual mandate from Congress to act independently to ensure both stable prices and maximum sustainable employment, has repeatedly stressed it will make its decision on rate cuts based solely on the economic data. But a cut on Wednesday could still cause a headache for Powell, many analysts warn. Well, for further clarity, let's go across to principal economist at HDFC Bank, Sakshi Gupta, who's also a macroeconomic analyst. Thanks so much, Sakshi, for making time for us. Now, as things stand, US policymakers essentially are left with a choice of making a small 25 basis point cut to ease into things, or a more aggressive cut of 50 basis points, which would be helpful for the labor market. But many say it could also risk reigniting inflation.
Good morning. So thank you for having me on the show. You are absolutely right. I think at this point, the debate really is whether the US Fed is going to cut rates by 25 basis points or whether they are going to look at a much larger cut of 50. My sense is that given the inflation data that has been coming out of the US, which continues to show that price pressures are moderating, and I think combined with the fact that, economic activity has been slowing down, but we are not seeing any red flags on the growth front. So there is really, no compelling case at the moment for the Fed to get too aggressive in terms of the quantum of rate cuts that it's going to deliver. So my sense would be that they are going to start this cycle gentle and slow, start with a 25 basis rate cut this week. I think what will also be important is to look at what they say about the coming months for the US policy. So how do they view growth? How do they view inflation? And what really is their forecast in terms of how many rate cuts they're going to do in this, in this rate cut cycle over the next 1 or 2 years? I think that, things are still very, very uncertain in terms of the data in the US, and things have been very, very volatile when we look at from 1 month to the other. So at this stage, I think it will be too premature for the Fed to go all out and deliver a very large rate cut.
Well, the debate among policymakers until Wednesday, I guess, this week will likely center on whether to move by 25 or 50 basis points. We'll keep a close eye on how this unfolds. Thank you so much, Sakshi, for joining us with your insights. As always, news and updates continue in a moment right after this very short break. Don't go anywhere.
I've been reporting on all issues, big and small, from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts, read breaking and exclusive news from around the world and more. Download the NDTV app today and get access to the best journalism and storytelling on your smartphone or tablet. The NDTV app. News that matters to you.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
And impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
from Maximum City, Mumbai,
To the seat of power, Delhi.
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m. every day.
I've been reporting on all issues big and small from Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, rest of South India, bringing you all the action, all that you need to know, all that you want to know.
The energy of Maximum City is infectious. I bring in that energy in our news coverage from financial capital Mumbai.
India's IT capital is always buzz. It's literally a city that never sleeps. And I keep you ahead on all the Bengaluru buzz.
Covering from the southernmost part of India over the last 23 years, I bring in-depth and 360-degree coverage from the Dravidian heartland.
The land of Mishti is also known for its bitter politics. I have seen much water flow under the Howrah Bridge, covering Bengal in all its vivid colors.
Stay informed and entertained with the new and updated NDTV News app. You can watch all our channels live, listen to podcasts,
Welcome back. US President Joe Biden has brushed off Russian leader Vladimir Putin's threat regarding a war against the West if Ukraine's allies allowed it to use weapons deeper inside Russia. Why is this significant? Well, it's a shift that Kyiv has pleaded for, but does not appear likely to be announced following a meeting between Biden and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Friday. Ukraine, though, was a key topic for Joe Biden and the British Prime Minister following last week's visit to Kyiv by their top diplomats, who actually came under fresh pressure to loosen weapons restrictions. But so far, the United States has allowed Ukraine to use American-provided weapons only in a limited area inside Russia's border with Ukraine. And finally, the 76th Primetime Emmy Awards. The historical drama series Shogun leads this year's nominations with an impressive 25 nods. Meanwhile, the acclaimed psychological comedy drama The Bear, which has been a dominant force since its debut in 2022, has earned 23 nominations and already bagged 3 awards in major categories, including lead actor in a comedy series. The FX restaurant dramedy The Bear is having a very strong night as expected. It's just picked up another Emmy, in fact, this time recognizing Christopher Storer for Best Directing in a Comedy Series. Season 2 of The Bear produced some of the most memorable episodes in the series, many would argue, with the cameo-heavy mid-season Christmas episode Fishes earning Storer the win tonight. But some winners have taken their moment in the spotlight at the Emmys to make political statements, though they've mostly kept it quite subtle. Thank you for investing your time and watching this edition of The World 24/7. We'll keep tracking the latest updates for you. Do stay tuned.
New day, new show, a new experience.
Start your day with the news, not views.
We bring you stories that matter
and impact your life.
News that informs and keeps you ahead.
From Maximum City, Mumbai,
to the seat of power, Delhi,
NDTV brings you the best breakfast show.
Breakfast news on NDTV, 8 a.m.